Jenna. I'm here to give you my last pregnancy update. I am 37 weeks and I think it's pretty unlikely that I'll be able to do another vlog before the baby comes. They are going to induce me in at 39 weeks, which is just 2 weeks from now. So the likelihood that I'm going to film a second one is pretty low. But I did want to do another update because, as people watching probably know, there's been some pretty major world changes recently. There has been a recent, I don't know, what do you call it, outbreak? I guess I've been calling it pandemic as a shorthand, but there's a virus known as COVID-19 that has been taking over and impacting basically everyone's world. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about how it's been impacting me and our family, and then also and primarily the pregnancy. So a little over a month ago, starting around March 16th, that's the week that we started doing a stay-at-home thing. Dan started to work from home. Me and the girls stopped going out for everything and just started staying home. The only thing that we were occasionally leaving the house for in those early stages were groceries, doctor's appointments. So we are still, of course, going to doctor's appointments, but things that I had been doing to help take care of myself, like the chiropractor and physical therapy, I did stop just to lower how much I was leaving the house and the risk of exposure. Early on, they didn't actually originally include pregnant women in the high risk category, but within a couple weeks they started to. So just because there's a lot of unknown and there's just not a lot of data on how the virus impacts both pregnant women and the babies. The initial research that I have been following and understood is that right now, to our knowledge, there's no passage between mom and baby, like via placenta or anything, like in the womb. However, once the baby is out, babies in general have lower immune systems. So I am planning and thinking and understanding that the baby would still be considered in the high risk and vulnerable category. One of the early changes that they made was that they only were going to allow one support person in a delivery room at the hospital. So we knew fairly early on that Dan would be the only person allowed with me. Now, that impacted our plans a little bit, well, our ideal plans, right? So we were going to have my friend do some birth photography for us. We were going to have another friend do the Fresh 48 photo shoot. I was so excited. I had not actually had that professionally done before, and I was like, this is my last baby. I would love to capture those special moments. And really early on, we had to nix that. So that was the initial disappointment of some more to come. And then you start to realize, well, one support person, that means that the kids can't come to the hospital and meet their sister. And that was a really special memory that we had, was when Ava came to the hospital and got to meet Mabel. So then that was sad, right? And that was a loss. But you think about it, you're like, okay, well, we want to keep everyone safe. That makes sense, okay. And then there was this brief moment in time where there were some hospitals in areas, mainly New York, I think, that were impacted with higher numbers and higher rates of this virus, that were starting to say no support people. I definitely had like a moment where I got really scared because I was like, I don't know how I would do that without Dan. But it looks like that is not the case right now, and that we're still allowed one support system or one support person. The other big loss that we figured out pretty early on, we didn't make a formal decision right away. We were trying to kind of wait it out, see if things might improve or would change. But unfortunately, our help, so Dan's parents had been planning to actually drive from Minnesota to where we are to come help for the first month or so to watch the kids, to help us at the house in those first like weeks of having a newborn. And unfortunately, given the situation, we all agreed that we don't think it's safe for them to come. And that loss, I think, was and maybe still is the biggest loss in this situation for us. We have always had grandparents able to stay and help with the newborn first couple of weeks, and now it's just going to be me and Dan and the girls, and I know we're going to get through it, and it's going to be its own type of experience, but that was really sad, especially because the girls have 3 sets of grandparents, and each of the other parent sets had been here for a birth, and then it was Dan's parents' turn, and I was so excited for them because like I want to share that with them, and like this is a good age for them to watch the kids and a good time in their schedule because they have retired and they could come and just stay, and that is not happening. So that was really, really sad. I am thankful that so far the ultrasounds are showing that there is a lower likelihood that this baby might have Puroban sequence because we have coverage for up to 5 days with the girl's babysitter for when I give birth. But then we wouldn't have any easy help, or I guess like built-in help like we would with a grandparent if the baby has like a NICU need or something. I know that I have a strong friend support system that I could call on, and people would of course be willing to help, and we will figure that out if necessary. But it's a different kind of experience for both us, and then the girls like Ava and Mabel, if they are having care in and out of the house, if they have to leave the house to go stay at somebody else's house and that disrupts their routine, like a big life change is already going to happen to them when we bring the baby home. So to have that on top of it is just going to be harder than I would like. However, you do what you have to do, you figure it out, and I do think we are fortunate to have people that I know I could call on if necessary. So fingers crossed that the baby is still looking good and we don't have to worry about that. So next change has been like our doctor's appointments. So for my OB visits, I've had one done virtually, but then the other visits have been like growth ultrasounds or BPP ultrasounds where they check the fluid, non-stress tests where I'm hooked up to a machine and they watch the heartbeat and movements, and then possible contractions, none of which I can really do at home or virtually. So they at one point talked about maybe instead of having the BPP on one day, the non-stress test day on a different day, they were considering maybe combining it to one day to lower how many times a week I was coming in. But for right now, they're maintaining that schedule, and it will be, I only have 2 weeks left, so I'm assuming that's not going to change. When I get to the OB office, there's I wear a mask. I bring as minimal stuff as I can bring. I have like my health savings account card in a Ziploc bag, so I hand it to them, put it in the bag, and put it back in my purse to kind of limit as much germs as I can. I bring hand sanitizer with me. I try to limit how much I sit in the waiting room, and then I have a normal appointment. The doctors and the techs and everybody and nurses are all wearing masks. And then when I go home, I take all the clothes off that I wore at the clinic, pop it in the washing machine before I touch or interact with kids. Now, that clinic is still considered a well clinic because you take your temperature at the door, so nobody's allowed in if you have like a slight temperature or whatever. So the working assumption right now is that everybody who is allowed in is healthy. So the risk potentially is lower then. So I'm hoping that that is accurate, and there's only so much you can do because I can't not have those tests. I am still considered high risk. So I have, I think, maybe 4 more of those visits between now and when I'd go to the hospital to have the baby. So only 4 more times. We're not leaving the house for anything else. We're doing like grocery delivery and stuff. And then my husband, Dan, has a process where he's like wiping everything off. He's being very, very cautious and all of that. Another early change, and this is separate from the doctor's visit that I forgot to mention, is that I was supposed to have a baby sprinkle, which is basically a baby shower, but the idea is it's smaller because it's not your first. But I like to celebrate all of the kids that I have because I'm excited about all of them. And so we were going to have a baby sprinkle at my house. Obviously, I can't do that. Like, one, everyone is staying home anyway, and then it's like the day after I send the invitations out is when the national state of emergency was declared. So groups of 10 or more were kind of banned. They are still banned. So me and my friend Mercedes, who was helping me throw it, switched it to a virtual baby shower, and it actually was it was a different experience, but I actually really enjoyed it. It allowed me to interact with my friends that were out of town as well, my friends and family who were out of town, and then just open it up to celebrating with more people. And then I didn't have to fully cancel it either. So that has been just amazing. The other thing here that we are preparing for that is very different is the hospital and delivery, right? So let's see if I can get all this straight and then I don't forget anything. Where I am delivering, like I said before, they're only allowing 1 support person in. Dan will be able to come with me, but once we go in, we cannot leave. Dan cannot leave. So if anything is forgotten in the car, we're just kind of out of luck because once he leaves, he can't come back in. So we have to make sure we remember to bring the car seat and then like our whatever bags we're bringing. When we go in, we'll have to wear masks. I believe that when we are inside the delivery room, we don't have to wear the mask, but anytime we're out of that room, we're going to have to. The other difference is, assuming that I am going to be induced and nothing's going to happen sooner, sometimes with an induction, for my previous pregnancies, they try to get it started. If your body's not picking it up and not moving forward, they might send you home for a period of time and see if it's working, and then you'd come back like maybe the next day or whatever. That I have been told that is not going to happen, meaning once I check in and they start things, we're just there until the baby comes. So the other part of how we are preparing and trying to think about this is like, so I trust my doctors and nurses are doing everything they can to keep me safe. I have no distrust from their efforts or them personally, but knowing what you hear in the news, things like they may not have enough protective equipment, or there may be limited on what they have and how they're able to stay safe and keep you safe. That I think is where my nervousness and wanting to prepare a little bit more comes from. So when I've been packing my hospital bag, it's been taking longer because it's kind of stressful to do the brain work. But basically, I had already written out a list similar to what I brought with the other 2 births. But now I'm going through every line and going, how do I wash this? Do I need this? What can I bring that I need or what is this just a nice to have and I don't actually need it? And then me and Dan talked a lot about actually how do you decontaminate when you come home? How am I going to coordinate with the babysitter and with my 2 young children who, as soon as we come home, they're going to miss us. They're going to want to see the baby, but I can't hold them right away or feel safe holding them or greeting them until we can kind of strip down what we're wearing and what was exposed in the hospital, wipe down everything we need to. Shower probably is the plan right now as well, just to make sure everything is okay. They recommended, the last person I talked to recommended changing the baby's clothes as well. I will check when we are actually at the hospital if they think we need to give the baby a sponge bath before the kids can interact with her, or if they think that is probably okay. So right now, the plan is that I will stay in the car with the baby while Dan comes in. He showers, gets ready, gets cleaned up, takes the bags of stuff, takes as much as he can to put in the wash, and kind of decontaminates as much as he can while I'm waiting in the car with the baby, because then he can come help. Not only lift the baby, because, depending on how the birth plays out, I may not be able to lift that much weight. So he would then get the baby in the car seat, bring the car seat in. No, I think we decided against that. I think he will just, since he's clean, carry the baby in. Might depend if she's sleeping. Some of this we're going to have to just figure out as we go. But anyway, then he can tend to the baby while I hop in the shower, get myself clean. And then in theory, all of us will be ready to reintroduce or greet and see Ava and Mabel. As you can tell, there's some just mental work of how do we go through this process, because it's going to be new. Dan was joking, hey, maybe we should do a trial run. I was I'm so pregnant right now. That sounds like a lot of work, and it's going to be a lot of work, especially at having just given birth and stuff, and that piece of it feels a little overwhelming as well. And then you add that to we're going to be coming home and not having the extra adult help once the babysitter goes home. So we'll obviously ask her to stay until we can get cleaned up, so at least we have that part. I'm hoping, and I don't know that this timing will work, but I'm hoping that maybe the girls will be in their nap time. Can I just coordinate everything and plan everything to that level where we're sure that we come back during nap time? It'll definitely depend when we're able to be discharged from the hospital, and there's only so much I can control about that as well. So yeah, just lots of mental work, and as far as emotionally processing all of this, it has been just a roller coaster ride. And I feel like I've been saying that this entire pregnancy because of the Puro band stuff, but just when we thought we were okay with that, now we're coming and going oh, here's this other big, huge, overwhelming thing that we're going to have to deal with and process and try to get through. And I actually, in some ways, find it a similar process to some of the PRS staff. In How do I explain this? I think it's because both things, there's an unknown scary thing ahead. With the Puro Band staff, you don't know for sure if the baby's going to have that issue, but you have a fear that it is there. Similarly to the COVID-19 stuff, you don't know if you're necessarily going to catch the virus, but it is, because it's unknown and seems very intimidating and very daunting, which I'm sure it would be if anyone in my family caught it. There's this like level of fear, or almost like trauma crisis mode that you get into, where it feels like for emotional processing, it's like almost a grief cycle where it's circular. You get moments of being very overwhelmed and like, how am I going to do this? And then you have to self-soothe, which can take a lot of work, especially when the threat, I don't know if that's the best term, but especially if that doesn't go away, it's a lot of like, you freak out a little bit, depending on the level of freak out. Sometimes it's just a little, but sometimes it's a lot. You freak out a little bit, you process those feelings, you try to reassure yourself, you try to come up with a plan. How am I going to handle this? And you're soothed for a little bit, you're doing okay, and you keep moving forward. And then like you think of something new that might be scary, or you think of another thing that might be a concern that you maybe hadn't occurred to you. And then you're going like, oh. And it's just, it feels like it's been constant. And I don't know about you guys, but my stress response sometimes is just to feel tired. And also this far in a pregnancy, fatigue is just a symptom. So between those two, I'm just like exhausted. So I've been trying to give myself a lot of grace. I'm trying to keep a routine with the kids since we're all stuck at home, trying to go outside once or twice a day, because I swear any kind of sunshine is like just sunshine, fresh air. Like, we do it in our front yard, and that has been enough and super helpful. So, but where I live, it's about to get very, very hot. So I think the temperature forecast this week is going to be like mid-90s and then up into the hundreds. So that tool might not be available for a little bit. So we'll see. But otherwise, that's a lot to unpack there. But in general, we're okay. Like, we're hanging in there. I have been able to find toilet paper. It's taken a lot of work, and it's weird that it's hard to find toilet paper, but I think I have enough for the next little bit of time anyway, the next stretch of time. And we've been able to get most of the food that we need via like food delivery services. We've been keeping in contact with our friends and family virtually, so I feel very emotionally supported by my friends. And obviously, like, we have our family here, our little circle of people, and Ava and Mabel have been doing amazing and handling things really well and playing together really well. And I'm very, very grateful for that. They are both very excited for their new baby sister. So there's going to be a lot of good coming up. I think it's just getting through some of the like rough bits. Appointments for the baby have been going good. So that probably shouldn't be like a tag, like a last minute thought, but baby is doing good. Fluid levels are good so far. So like everything is looking really promising. And on track as much as possible for her. So I'm just hoping for continued health and as straightforward a birth as I can hope for. is kind of what I'm going for. If we can have a normal, as healthy as possible birth, and like I can take the baby home who is able to eat and able to breathe, I will be happy. So wherever you guys are, however you guys are handling this, is it pandemic? These words all seem very foreign still, but I hope that you guys are safe. I hope that you guys are healthy, and we are sending our love to you as well in this really weird time. So I will probably be back, and next time we'll have another baby. It's crazy. It's so soon. All right. Love you guys. See you later.